Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the people of occupied Kashmir will succeed in getting their right to self-determination. In an interview, Khan said India tried hard to isolate Pakistan internationally but failed to do so. In India, farmers have ended their wheel jam strike but vowed to continue protesting against the contentious farm laws. Farmer unions say they will not be pressurized into holding talks with the government. Internet services remain suspended at the protest sites around New Delhi. Three blasts have rocked Afghanistan's capital city of Kabul, leaving 3 people dead and 5 wounded. Security officials say 2 civilians and a policeman were those killed. Myanmar's military rulers have shut down the internet across the country. This comes in the face of a growing protest movement against the coup that ousted Aung San Suu Kyi and halted democracy. Meanwhile, thousands of people have joined a protest against this week's military coup in the country's biggest city of Yangon. Brazil's coronavirus death toll has surpassed 230,000, while its caseload has exceeded 9.4 million. Pakistan has registered nearly 1,300 new cases and 28 new deaths overnight, as its caseload tops 11,900. Globally, the virus has claimed over 2.29 million lives and infected over 105 million people. Pakistani mountaineer Muhammad Ali Satpara, along with 2 other climbers, has gone missing while attempting to summit the world's second tallest mountain, K2. The climbers reportedly lost contact with the base camp on Friday. Pakistan's Alpine club says an army helicopter has launched a search operation. And in cricket, Pakistan leads South Africa by 200 runs in their second innings of the final test at the Rawalpindi Stadium. The host ended the third day on 129 for 6 after bowling the Proteas out for just 201 runs. Pakistan lead the 2-match series 1-0. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the people of occupied Kashmir will succeed in getting their right to self-determination. In an interview, Khan said India tried hard to isolate Pakistan internationally but failed to do so. This comes a day after he urged the United Nations to honor its promises made to Kashmiris during an address on Kashmir Solidarity Day. The Prime Minister called on India to restore Kashmir's autonomy and hold dialogue with Pakistan. Earlier, Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi said India must halt its atrocities in Kashmir. Qureshi said India violated international laws through a controversial legislation that is changing the territory's demographic structure. He was addressing a virtual conference of the OIC contact group involving Azerbaijan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Niger. The New York State Assembly has passed a resolution to observe February 5th as Kashmir American Day. This resolution makes New York the first state to recognize Kashmir Day. The resolution was passed by a majority vote in the New York State Legislative Assembly. Governor of New York Andrew Cuomo issued the notification after the Assembly passed the resolution. Pakistani Consul General in New York, Aisha Ali, said the Pakistani community played an important role in getting the bill passed. Pakistan observes the 5th of February as Kashmir Day to support Kashmiri struggle for their inalienable right to self-determination. In India, farmers have ended their hours-long wheel jam strike but vowed to continue protesting against the contentious farm laws. Farmer unions say they will not be pressurized into holding talks with the government. They are demanding that they restore the law on the minimum support price for crop procurement. Internet services remain suspended at the protest sites around New Delhi. Earlier, police crashed with a farmer and blocked roads with makeshift tents and tractors. They detained several farmer leaders ahead of the strike. Tens of thousands of farmers have been camping at the Delhi borders for over 2 months, demanding a rollback of the laws. 3 blasts have rocked Afghanistan's capital city of Kabul, leaving 3 people dead. Today's explosions occurred amidst a sharp increase in targeted attacks in Kabul in the last 2 months. Security officials say the 2 civilians and a policeman were among those killed, while 5 others were wounded. No group has claimed responsibility for the attacks. Earlier, the Defense Ministry said 27 Taliban fighters were killed during operation in different parts of the country. A Taliban delegation has discussed the Afghan peace process and the country's political situation with Turkmenistan's officials. In a tweet, Taliban spokesperson Dr. Mohammed Naeem said Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar led the delegation. He said the delegation discussed bilateral issues, including border security, Turkmenistan's project in Afghanistan, and the prisoners issue. Naeem said issues like the Tapi pipeline and the railway projects were also discussed in the meeting. Mullah Baradar affirmed that the willingness to implement the discussed products. The Taliban delegation visited Ashgabat and the official invitation for Turkmenistan. The United States has reaffirmed its commitment to ending a partnership with Afghanistan. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin reiterated Washington's resolve during a phone call to Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. The Pentagon said the 2 leaders talked about the Afghan peace process and the imperative for a negotiated settlement to end the war. In a statement, it said Austin and Ghani discussed the shared sacrifices of the United States and the Afghanistan forces in the war against terror. They also acknowledged the collective gains made over the 2 last decades. The Pentagon added both sides emphasized the importance of seizing this opportunity for peace. The call comes as Afghanistan faces rising attacks, with both the Taliban and the government pinning blame on each other. In Myanmar, the military rulers have extended a social media blockade to Twitter and Instagram until further notice. This comes in the face of a growing protest movement against the coup that ousted Aung San Suu Kyi and halted democracy. A Twitter spokesperson said that the company is deeply concerned about the order to block internet services in Myanmar. The Facebook commented that the confirmed block on Instagram and urged authorities to restore connectivity. In a statement, Telenor said that it had challenged its necessity to the authorities. Meanwhile, thousands of people have joined a protest against the coup in Myanmar's biggest city, Yangon. The protesters chanted against the military, saying the dictators will fail and democracy will win. They also called for the release of San Suu Kyi and others who have been detained since the army seized power on Monday. The International Criminal Court has ruled that its jurisdiction over war crimes committed in the Palestinian territories. The ruling has paved the way for the World Court for a possible war crimes investigation.
The ICC judges said the court's territorial jurisdiction and the situation in Palestine extend to the territories occupied by Israel since 1967. They said these territories include Gaza and the West Bank and East Jerusalem. The Palestinian Authority has welcomed the top court's ruling, saying it is a historic day for the principle of accountability. Prime Minister Mohammed Shataya called the ICC decision a victory for justice and humanity. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected the decision, calling the tribunal as political. Meanwhile, the U.S. says it has serious concerns about ICC's efforts to assert jurisdiction over Israeli personnel. ICC's prosecutor, Fatou Bensouda, said her office is studying the decision. In 2019, Bensouda said there was a reasonable basis to open a war crimes probe into Israeli military actions in the Gaza Strip and settlement activity in the West Bank. The top UN court's ruling came after Bensouda asked the court to determine whether she has territorial jurisdiction before proceeding with the case.
The United States says it intends to revoke the terrorist designation of Yemen's Houthi movement. This comes a day after President Joe Biden declared a halt to U.S. support for the ongoing war in Yemen. The State Department said the reversal was entirely due to the dire humanitarian situation in Yemen. It said that the action did not reflect Washington's view of the Houthis and their reprehensible conduct. The previous administration blacklisted the Houthis a day before Biden's inauguration, drawing criticism from the United Nations and humanitarian organizations. Meanwhile, the United Nations has welcomed the plan, saying it will provide relief to millions relying on humanitarian aid. The world powers have welcomed Libya's rival politics group's agreement to form an interim government. The interim setup was formed after 5 days of talks in Switzerland. United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres welcomed the development, saying the United Nations will keep supporting Libyans to build a peaceful country. The United Kingdom's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office said the governments of France, Germany, Italy and the United States hailed the agreement. Turkey welcomed the development, hoping that a new government will take office as soon as possible on the basis of a roadmap adopted by the forum. The Libyan forum selected interim government with Mohammed al-Menfi as presidency council head and Abdul Hamid al-Dabihi as prime minister. All the candidates for the new government vowed to hold national presidential and parliamentary elections on the 24th of December. Brazil's coronavirus death toll has surpassed 230,000, while its caseload has exceeded 9.4 million. Globally, the virus has claimed over 2.29 million lives and infected over 105 million people. More on the coronavirus in this report.
The complications attached to the COVID-19 disease keep growing as the virus gets stronger. In the U.S., Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation at the University of Washington says an estimated 631,000 Americans will die from COVID-19 by June 1st. Meanwhile, the U.S. House of Representatives has passed a key step, enabling Democrats to push President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion coronavirus relief package through Congress. In Brazil, after the intense political controversies over the handling of the outbreak in the city of Manaus, the regional authorities are boosting the COVID-19 hospital's capacity to cope with the surging cases. In Europe, Portugal is witnessing more critical COVID-19 patients than ever, as the situation intensified in the country with over half of deaths occurring after December 30th. A more contagious variant of the coronavirus first detected in Britain now accounts for almost 6% of all cases in Germany. In the UK, up to 100 children per week are being hospitalized with a rare post-COVID-19 disease. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says the number of vaccinations has surpassed the number of reported infections globally.
More than 3/4 of those vaccinations are in just 10 countries that account for almost 60% of global GDP. Almost 130 countries with 2.5 billion people are yet to administer a single dose.
Meanwhile, South African special investigators say around $17 million in coronavirus funds were siphoned off last year. New Zealand is investigating a new community infection among people who completed mandatory isolation at an Auckland quarantine facility.
While in Pakistan, another 28 people have died from COVID-19 overnight. The country's death toll has risen to 11,914. The health ministry has reported 1,286 new infections overnight. The ministry says out of nearly 553,000 cases detected so far, over 508,000 have recovered. It added the number of active COVID-19 cases has crossed 32,000. The ministry said more than 2,000 patients across the country are admitted in hospitals. The Pakistan Navy is set to hold the 7th multinational maritime exercise Aman this month in Karachi. Naval forces from around 45 countries will participate in the 5-day drill being held to promote peace.
Pakistan Navy is on the front from the defense of maritime frontiers to humanitarian assistance, from national to regional collaborations, and from regional security patrols to global partnerships. The multinational naval exercise, Aman, is conducted after every 2 years since it was initiated in 2007. This year's exercise is being held under the motto, Together for Peace. In the drill, naval forces from across the world exchange their experiences in order to combat common threats at sea. The Pakistan Navy official says the drill has played a significant role in enhancing the country's war and maritime security capabilities. The naval drill is believed to play a pivotal role in promoting regional and global maritime peace and stability.
It's time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. 3 mountaineers, including Pakistan's Ali Sadpara, have gone missing while descending K2 following their winter summit. Pakistan Alpine Club's officials say Army helicopters are carrying out the search operation. Other 2 missing mountaineers are Iceland's John Sorny and Juan Pablo Moher of Chile. The 3 adventurers left Camp 3 for their summit push a day earlier. Sajid Sadpara, the 4th mountaineer on the expedition, began an earlier descent due to his oxygen regulator malfunctioning. Officials said he will be escorted to the base from Camp 3 by a team of Nepali Sherpas. Meanwhile, 1 climber from Bulgaria, Atanas Setkova, lost his life while descending to Camp 3. Now, for more on this, we're joined by Abu Zafar Sadiq, who is the president of the Alpine Club of Pakistan. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, Sadiq Saab, what are the chances of survival in the sub-zero temperatures?
Chances are very bleak, really speaking. And I think if it is too much long time they are missing and there is no clue and no communication with them, and the chances are not much, encouraging and more that.
Now, can you please tell us when you did lose contact with the base camp?
About last 2 days, they have not been, connection with their base camp, and his son has connection who was in Camp 2 and coming from Camp 1 today to the base camp. But he also not knew anything about the communication further with his father or rest of the members. So about 2 days they have no connection and no communication with them. I think it's the 3rd day today that they have lost communication.
Now, Mr. Saad, when do you think it will be possible to relaunch the rescue efforts given the harsh weather conditions up in the Salvage Mountains?
The rescue expedition launched today. They searched through heli, and they also dropped 2 fresh high altitude reporter in the base camp. And tomorrow again they will try to locate and search the climbers who are missing. So we expect tomorrow again there an attempt for the search, both through heli and also the climbers who reach the base camp may have an option for the by on the ground search as well.
All right, Muzaffar Sadiq, thank you so much for speaking to Indus News. Now moving on, Oscar-winning Canadian actor Christopher Plummer passes away at the age of 91 in Connecticut, United States. His wife Elaine Taylor said that the cause of death was a blow to the head as the result of a fall. In 2012, Plummer became the oldest actor to win an Oscar for the Best Supporting Actor in the film Beginners. Plummer's also won 2 Tony Awards for his performances in the play Barrymore and the musical Carno. Plummer appeared in more than 100 films, including The Sound of Music and The Insider. He also contributed voices for Up, An American Tale, and the TV series Madeline. In the United States, new job creation in the month of January has fallen behind economic expectations. The Department of Labor's data shows the addition of 49,000 new jobs against a forecast of 100,000. The report said the growth of jobs in service and education sectors was suppressed by the decline of jobs across the economic sector. It said the number of jobs in entertainment, hospitality, retail, and healthcare sectors dropped significantly. However, with new job growth, the unemployment rate fell to 6.3%, 0.4% lower than December. But the report added that it was not enough to significantly improve the unemployment situation in January. The International Monetary Fund has warned of a lost generation if the low-income countries do not get more help. Addressing a video conference, IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva urged advanced economies to provide more resources to avert the danger. Georgieva said 50% of the developing countries are at the risk of falling behind. She said an emerging great divergence in global growth could risk stability and trigger social unrest. The IMF had also urged heavily indebted countries to seek debt restructuring and boost conditions for growth. Georgieva said accelerating vaccinations could add $9 trillion to the global economy by 2025, with 60% of the benefits going to the developing countries. Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is poised to become the first African and first woman to lead the World Trade Organization. The development comes after her South Korean rival withdrew and the United States expressed strong support for the Nigerian. Former U.S. President Donald Trump wanted South Korea's Trade Minister Yoo Min-hee as WTO's chief, but President Joe Biden's administration has pledged to work with the Nigerian on needed reforms. In a statement, the White House lauded Okonjo-Iweala's experience at the World Bank. Dr. Okonjo-Iweala is an economist and already enjoys broad support from the WTO members, including the European Union, China, and Australia. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at Indus.News.